challenge. Third thing, and this is the end, which is the non-linear. So earlier, we know that there was the businesses would increase in year on year. They were linear things, but now it has become non-linear. It has become some of the things have become exponential. Things happen so fast, so you cannot apply the same principles as in a linear world because things may change very fast. They may disrupt very fast. So it's a non-linear world today, and incomprehensible, as all of us know. We are unable to understand what is happening. It is happening so fast. There's a vast amount of data, information, TVs and petabytes of information is getting collected. And we don't know how to comprehend because the data is too much, but we don't know how to use it. So all of this impacts the leadership, the people, the teams all around us. And this is what we have to be aware of when we are designing organizational systems, organizational behaviors, and the teams within the organizations. So I thought these are important to set a context before we go ahead. So now we see that change is inevitable. Everywhere, as we saw in the VUCA world, in the Bani world, there are changes which are happening so fast. So the first and foremost thing is that we should learn to accept the changes which are happening at work, at homes, at family, wherever, to be successful in our careers. And we need to be aware of these alterations, that these will happen. These are normal work procedures, which actually can be very frustrating, very unwanted, and it can be even scary because today, if you're not aware of what are drones doing or what are the generative AI can do, you will be scary about it because you don't know whether it's going to have a positive impact or negative impact. But change brings very positive elements to an environment which has become stagnant. So as we say, water keeps flowing and it should keep flowing, otherwise it forms stagnant water and leads to diseases. So change causes the flow and we should be flowing with it. And that's what is meant by embracing change. And as you see in the picture, basically showing that you should not resist change, but you should embrace it. And there are a couple of questions I've put in. So basically, why do you feel, you need to answer these questions yourself. Why do you feel negative about the change, or how do you help reduce negativity at the workplace, or can we accept the change as part of the job, or can we take it as a challenge, these changes? So all of these are very important, really embrace upon because of the changing world systems, the systems on us. So what are the characteristics? What is desirable?
Recording in progress.
So what is desirable in terms of such changes? So how do we create change-ready teams, and what are the attributes of it? So basically, one is the teams or the people who are leading the teams or the leaders should be adaptable. They should be open-minded, and they should have a proactive approach to challenges. You should never say it will not be affecting me. If something happens in US, if something happens in Russia, it impacts India. If something happens in India, it impacts all across the globe. So world is a connected system. It has become a global village, and anything which happens everywhere, it impacts. So we should be ready to embrace these things. Another thing is we should be embracing innovation, creativity, foster collaboration, and we should always prioritize continuous learning. So this is very important to be always be in line with where the world is going. If you're open, these things work on. So leadership is playing a very important role. So and if you see, all progressive organizations have leaders which have a growth mindset. So there's a concept there's a book on mindset which basically says about a growth mindset and a fixed mindset. So anyone who's of a growth mindset will embrace to changes, will take risks, and will take challenges as opportunities, and that is where the teams should also operate in such growth mindset. The fourth thing here is that there should be a lot of risk-taking abilities should be encouraged. A constructive feedback should be given in any situation, whether it's a appraisal system in a organization or whether students are given feedback. Give both a positive and a negative feedback so that anyone and everyone can work upon their weaknesses and hone upon their strengths further. And the last but not the least is on skill development. That means all the teams should be upskilling, they should be reskilling, there should be a environment wherein the skills of teams who are not up to the mark are developed so that they become a catalyst for the improvement of and success of the entire team or the organization or the company. So these are some of the core attributes which every person as an individual and a team leader or a team should have. We will keep going to a lot of details on each of these as we go ahead, but this basically covers the first part of the section wherein we say that how the organizations of the future are going to be and why the things are changing on a daily basis and how do we have what characteristics are needed for a change change ready team. So I think we'll take a 5-minute, 10-minute break, and if someone have any questions, we can take them one by one. I think the moderator can unmute. We pause for 5 minutes if there is a doubt or question. Yeah. So okay, so I'm seeing one question. Could change have a negative impact on the productivity of the team? So definitely, this is I think given by Shubham Shah. So Shubham, yes, definitely. If the team is comprising of a person who is not aware of what is happening or what you're talking about in a scenario, say, of 7-8 people, and someone is talking about robotics or the new ways of doing things, and there may be one or two people in the team who are not aware or who may say that these things are not going to impact. So for everything, there is a positive and a negative aspect. So even science and technology has two sides of the coin. So there's a bane, there's a bone. So definitely, he can have a negative impact, but making them aware, and that's what we say, the skill development, that we need to take that person separately out of the team or make him aware of the situation or the background, the context, and he may then be aligned with the team. So more importantly is the persons who are negative or are impacting negative to the performance of the team, they need to actually be brought onto the same page, and the goal of the team should be given again as well individually on a one-to-one basis. So that can be tackled in that manner. So, okay. Biggest challenge I faced in handling the change. Okay. So I'll give you one scenario. I will not name the company that I was working for, but in one of the companies, I was supposed to bring in smart cities as a new line of business, and the organization was a completely EPC civil organization, construction organization that did not understand anything about the technology domain, because smart cities entails infrastructure and technology together. So a smart city basically means creating systems for livability and transparency. So surveillance system, traffic management systems, good water, good health, good solar power, all of it is part of smart city. So none of the CEOs and everyone, they were not willing to get into this new line of business. And I had to literally for 3 to 4 months, I had to keep pushing them, provide them presentations and tell them what the competition is doing, so as to make them understand that at that level. So it was right up to the level of the CEO and the board were not interested. So, but after 3 to 4 months of constant giving them a clarity about how we would be left behind if we don't embrace the latest things. And that is when they agreed, and it became a very big business segment for that company. So such things happen, but you have to be aware of. You should have a passion of what you're trying to drive, and you should make everyone be on the same page. So that's how you sort it out. Yeah. I hope I answered the question. I'm not able to sit to anyone. So hope. Okay, another very good question by Achinkya Dikshit. So he's saying why most of the employees are against the change. Okay. So
Excuse me, Nitin sir. You are not audible. Kindly unmute your mic.
okay. So I was answering the question why most of the employees are against the change. So I was telling you about a growth mindset and a fixed mindset people. So what happens in a fixed mindset people, they are resisting to change because they know a certain way of doing things, and they will not want to change it. So suppose you take care of any elderly person or a senior citizen or even a CEO level person, he would have handled the things 20, 25, 30 years before in a certain way. So he will not want it to happen the new way. And that is why most of the people who have a fixed mindset, they would not want change, they resist change. If you all recall, once upon a time when computers are coming in, everybody thought that most of the jobs will be gone because computers will do the job. Today, the same thing has come again as generative AI, artificial intelligence, and all these newer technologies which are coming up. And people are resisting. So people may say that this will take away all the jobs. So that is the reason, because of that mindset, and because people are not aligned to what is your thought process, they will always resist change. And change management, change managers, change leaders are really required in any organization to make happen that sort of a change. So that's
Sir, one of the question was there, change is more important to develop GDP also in our economy?
to develop GDP.
Yes.
Okay, I'll take, this is the last question in this section. So what happens is, see, if you are seeing what is currently being done in India, we are trying to change. In fact, we are skipping technologies. If you see on the telecom side, we sort of skipped the earlier technologies and moved directly to 3G, 4G, now coming to 5G. The world also has not reached up to 5G. So when we are saying of a 5 trillion economy, or when we are trying to move GDP to levels, when we are trying to become the number 3 biggest player in the world, so that cannot happen without change, without innovation, and without basically developing newer technologies. And that is the reason when we get into these newer arenas. So if you see, we are getting into newer arenas. You all have been in the seeing the news. We are getting into semiconductor industry in a big manner. It's still never there. We are getting into hydrogen economy. We are getting into renewables in a very big manner. We are getting into electric vehicles. All of these are changes which will finally improve the Indian GDP. And these changes require a lot of innovation also to be done within. And if you see the fintech industry, now everyone wants to have a UPI, everyone wants to have a barcode, and how we are doing the fintech transactions across. So France is wanting to use it, Singapore is wanting to use it. So we are leading that change, and that is all which will drive the economy of the future and lead to. And that's where we say the next 2 decades are of India, and you guys, the young generation, have to lead it. So that's how the GDP growth happens when we are open for a change. Okay, so I think if there are any other questions, let's take it at the end. So now otherwise we'll be short of time. So let's go to the next section, which is on team skills. Okay, so just a minute. Yeah. So I have specifically written team skills needed now. So there are original team skills which are like communication, empathy. You have leadership. You have EI. All of those are the skills which are always required. But now these are some of the skills, very important skills. I'm not saying all, but very important skills which are required in the current environment, in the current setup of things which we just saw in the changing world scenario. So the first of them is agility and resilience. The second is mental health and psychological safety, which is needed in the teams. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. If you read any annual report of any big organization, there will be a chapter on DEI, emotional intelligence, ethical challenges. Now, something very important with the new AI, generative AI coming in. So there are a lot of trust and ethical issues coming up. So these needs to be part of the skill. People should be aware of it. And delegation, autonomy, and empathy. These are other skills. So they were required earlier as well. So these are required now also. So these are the important skills which are needed now. We will go into each one of them quickly. So yeah. So agility about increasing the speed of how we make decisions, right decisions as much as possible, and how do we strengthen resilience. So I hope both the words people are aware of. So agility is speed, and resilience is strength, the inner strength, or able to take up crisis. So you be strong enough to take up crisis. That's about resilience, not foothold in the ground sort of a thing. So we have seen that because of these lot of serial crises and changes which are coming in, we should be able to deal with these changes and crises in a day-to-day environment, and should be able to bounce forward out of them and very quickly. It is also about able to bounce back and quick with agility. Both are important together. So how it can be done? So some of the ways by which we can achieve these things. So one is having smaller cross-functional teams with their own ideas. So cross-functional is very important. That's the word, because wherever you see teams are solving a problem, a solution. So when they're solving a problem, there would be a multiple domain people will come in. So if you're trying to sort of say designing a vehicle, so you or creating a new vehicle, so you need people from the design team, you need people from procurement, you need people from strategy, you need people from contracting, you need people from supply chain. All the type of cross-functional teams are required. So they basically are of different skill sets, and they promote creativity because each one brings their own. Using inspiring role models to embody specific ideas. There should be a well-tailored change narrative. When you are trying to do anything in a team, the end result the goal should be very clearly mentioned. And eliminating unnecessary meetings, events, and travel, that's also very important. So that this agility comes in. Otherwise, what happens is a lot of time and effort goes in travel. And all in today's world, everything is can be done. Give power to your people. So this is very important. So when you're trying to solve a big problem within an organizational context, you need to give them resources. You need to give them a delegation of power and let them use their own judgment, drive, remove hierarchical levels within the organization. Teams are generally, they work the most when everyone is at a same hierarchical level. You may have a team leader or a team modulator or someone, but hierarchies should not be taken into account when we are dealing in teams. Dynamically staffing individuals, so sometimes a team is formed to align it or you transfer it from some other function. So it's you need dynamic staffing and conducting more frequent performance reviews. So in order to be more agile, you need to have instead of an annual sort of a review, you need to have a quarterly reviews, or for smaller agile teams, you can even have a monthly, even a weekly sort of a review mechanisms, which are all part of agile processes. And then there is a need of developing a culture of continuous learning within teams, because as someone said, negative impact of the teams can come in if all the members of the teams are not of the similar capability or capacity. So you need to make them understand, at least for that particular objective or process for which you are there. So all of these things basically try to improve the response time and able to take up challenges and crises in the changing environment of the world. If you see even the small pictorial, the art of life lies in a constant readjustment to our surroundings. Our surroundings are constantly changing. There is every day there's a change, so you need to constantly readjust. And people who can do it can be really good team members as well. They can drive performance. The second skill, as we said, out of the 6 skills, is on mental health and psychological safety. So this is becoming very, very important and crucial now because of the world, which is so anxious, always very disturbed, and this is becoming actually a C-suite issue. All the CEOs, the CXOs are facing this problem, and needs to be sort of improved upon. And why this happens? What are the factors which really lead to these sort of problems within the teams? One is the toxic workplace behavior. Work itself is not sustainable. You need to change very regularly. Inclusivity and belongingness is not there. So because of driving performance, there is a lot of cutthroat competition within teams, within organizations. So the belongingness is not there. Supportive growth environments are not there in many organizations because of a toxic workplace behavior. Freedom from stigma. So some levels, at least I've seen in Indian context a lot, there is a stigma of hierarchies. So, and the type of work which people do, which is not there in the Western world, but that stigma should not be there. Organizational commitment need to be there when you're creating or giving a person certain objective or a role to deliver, then the leadership also should be accountable towards that. And access to resources, as we said earlier as well. If you don't give resources, if you don't give finances, if you don't give the right teams, then definitely there would be a stress which will always be there on the teams or the people who are part of the team. So, how can we improve this? And it is becoming really important to invest a lot of time and effort in mindfulness and well-being of the employees, which is going on today, because otherwise people are not able to deliver this to their full potential. You are not able to retain people, you are not able to attract people at the first place, and finally the productivity of the organization itself goes for a toss. So what are the solutions? One is you need to have a lot of policy level changes so as to improve workplace flexibility. So now we see there's a lot of hybrid workspace, work from home, all sorts of coming late, going early. As far as the work is getting done, people are open to these things. Tools to promote mindfulness and physical activity. Again, this is very important. Every month, 2 months, 3 months, you have small get-togethers, you have team meetings, you have some physical activities, go to some picnics or sometimes access to therapy and counseling. It's really some people need it. Take a long-term view. So never take a short-term view that today this happened, now this will be very bad, next day will also going to be bad. Take a long-term view on anything in terms of your mental health and psychological safety, because things change. We know that after night comes the day again. So we need to have a long-term view whenever we are in such situations of anxiety or depression. And leadership involvement is a core success factor. Very important that the team leader, the CEO, they should be aware, and that's why I said it is becoming the CC. They should know and have one-to-one meeting every now and then where you feel that the productivity is getting hampered to understand the situation of the team member. That's also important. So the second important team skill. The third is that the team should be diverse, they should be equitable, and they should have inclusion as one of the important uh, ideologies which should be there. So, as I was saying earlier, so every CXO today, or every MNC, or every sustainable organization today are building upon diversity. So, what you mean by all of these things? Diversity means you should have gender diversity, you should have cultural diversity, you should have multinational diversity, global diversity. So all of this is diversity on your thing. Like equity is that every class of people, equitable for everyone, and inclusion is again including everyone into your team, sort of. So not missing out on certain type of people or certain race of people or all of it. So we need to build teams for the BPI, which is now a buzzword. So in every organization. So how do you do that? So one is you need to have inclusive hiring practices. So in fact, most of the HRs are even today not geared up. Even the recruiting agencies are not geared up to provide diverse teams. So if say I need to have specially abled people in my team, it is very difficult to recruit them. Or if you need to have global teams on my or of a particular culture, so it's even given the hiring HR setup or even the recruitment consultants are not geared up for that sort of practices, which are being built. Diverse skill sets. So you need to have teams which have got all sorts of skill sets to work in a collaborative and competitive environment. Training and education. So when you get uh, people from diverse backgrounds, you need to also upskill or improve your training and learning departments as well. equitable opportunities. So as we said, all backgrounds of people of all identity or regardless of their background, they should be given opportunities in terms of growth, in terms of. So today we have our own president as a tribal who which shows about equitable opportunities. So this is what we need to showcase in every organization in GT. Safe and supportive environment, very important for teams to have a very safe and belongingness in the team, which is there. And diversity at leadership levels. Again, uh, diversity is not required only at the bottom line, but right up to the board level. So, in fact, SEBI and RBI and all, they have mandated, company laws also have mandated that there needs to be a gender diversity in the boardrooms and other diversities at the leadership levels also. So, this is also happening. But still, there are a lot of challenges that it's too early also, I will say, in terms of this in large leading organizations, they have started building up this, but there is in most smaller organizations, there's a piecemeal approach. They're not clear about the impact of DEI on the long-term scenario, how this will impact the business, important in Indian context. So you'll talk about a lot of things in the external world, but when you come down in your own organization, things will not be happening. So this is these are some of the challenges which are there, but still a lot needs to be done, and people are doing there. And there's a small graphic which shows basically about internal and external and of these teams and the impact of the higher cycle. You can have a look at it, how it impacts diversity. Coming to the next one, which is about emotional intelligence. So this is mostly people are aware of. This is the very, very important. Just like the IQ, you need to have your EQ in place. And to have that, you should have certain qualities, which is you should be able to listen, you should be able to engage more with teams, understand and energize team. You should ask how of everything. You should be able to handle conflict situations. I'll have a separate slide on that. We'll talk about it and conflict situations handling and encourage again, as we said, mindfulness and emphasizing on empathy, understanding other people's point of view also. So emotional intelligence is again a very important skill which needs to be there in all leaders and future leaders. Ethical challenges. So as we said, because of the current AI world where it is going, so you can actually clone your voice, you can clone your video, you can do whatever you want with the generative AI. So a lot of ethical challenges are coming in. What is right? What is wrong? So how do we handle this? And this comes right from the top. This is a boardroom discussion point these days in most of the organizations. So we need to develop a lot of ethical decision frameworks. We need to be more transparent and accountable. You need to be talking about all of these things on a regular basis. There should be a lot of learning and development programs on how the ethics are changing and how do we make it right. Whistleblower is another important mechanism in most of the organizations on ethical usage, and the last not the least, ethical AI usage. So very clear guidelines and policies about the use of robotics, AI, and the latest technologies which are coming up. So there should be a policy, ethical policy, just like there is a safety policy, there is a governance policy, there is a sexual harassment policy in all organizations. We need to have an ethical policy and decision frameworks in place so as to handle teams tomorrow. And last but not the least, so delegation, autonomy, and empathy. These are, as usual, always core skills needed in any teams. You should be able to delegate. You should be able to do distributed decision making. not everything and anything should be handled at all levels. Everyone is aware there are multiple layers of hierarchy in an organization, but at every hierarchy level, the decision matrix should change. The CEO, if he does the same thing as an engineer or as a manager, then you don't need to have a hierarchy in place. So when we are delegating, you need to have a distributed decision making. You need to provide support and resources once you're delegating certain things to a team member or to a manager down below. You need to give them support resources in terms of assistance, in terms of financing, in terms of the right skill set teams and all of it. Celebrate small wins, again, very, very important. Because when you are working in an organization for an entire year, you should have a monthly or a 2 monthly, some small win. The team leaders should keep celebrating so that it gives recognition to the team members and also sort of motivation to keep working. Empowering autonomy, again, very important to balance autonomy and accountability. And active listening and empathy, this is one of the core skills of every leader. You should be a good listener and you should be understanding and putting yourself in someone else's shoes. So you need to be having empathy, and this is also a skill for emotional intelligence as well. So these are some of the very important skill sets which are there. There are many skills which a leader should have, but in the current scenario of the changing world order, these are some of the important 6 skills that we said here. So this brings us to the end of the next section. And I think we can again have a small break before we come back to the third section, which is on the future of leadership. So I think we can unmute and what are the questions that you could share? Freedom from stigma, need clarity. So Basant Kumar has asked a question, is stigma pointing to stubbornness? So no, stigma is not stubbornness. So stigma is about the quality of job, the nature of job. So as I was telling, suppose you are a waiter at McDonald's. So you have a stigma of that sort of a job that I cannot do that job, or so that's a stigma, a social stigma. Or if you're a sweeper, so such stigmas don't exist in the Western world. He's also doing something for employment. You are also doing something for employment. So why to have that stigma? So don't think that the task or the activity is menial. It is the part of the team's responsibility to do certain types of jobs, and someone will be having that job. So that is what I meant by stigma. You should not have stigma of what the other person is doing, or he's too lowly. I cannot go and talk to him. I'm a CEO. Why should I go and talk to a housekeeper or a housekeeping staff? So that is what I meant by stigma. I hope that's clear. What else? Okay. So Ashish Kumar has asked a question on how can we develop a mindset in the era of AI? Okay. So see, mindsets are basically first is it is over a period of time that you develop a mindset. It is about your upbringing. It is about your peers. It is about your parents. How you have grown up is what your mindset or your attributes in life would be. But you can still develop and hone. And as I was telling you, there are basically people with 2 important mindsets. One is the growth mindset and one is the fixed mindset. I'm not saying anything is bad or good, but generally people with growth mindset are the ones who embrace change, who want to grow at every opportunity, at every challenge. They take it up as a challenge. And there are various types of courses also which are there today to develop a particular type of mindset. But if you are true to yourself and if you are transparent and if you are not having that something called as doglapan, that is hypocritical people. So you should basically be very transparent and genuine in your transactions. Automatically, your mindset will improve, and you will be able to develop that mindset. Now, specifically in the era of AI, see, AI is a tool, so nothing changes. But basically, the only thing that changes is adapting yourself very fast to the newer things. So we adapted. We are also from era which is the brick and mortar era, and we are trying to adapt to this newer ways of communication, doing it through online. We used to do it with chalk and duster during the earlier days. Then it became projectors. Now it become online. So it's about adapting to the newer things on a day-to-day basis. You are adapting, seeing, learning, and that will make you develop the mindset where you can be able to adapt to any new technology which is coming up. It's not only AI, whether you talk of quantum computing or whether you talk of digital twin or whether you talk of cloud computing or whether you talk of robotics, or whatever you talk about, everything is about adapting to change. And if you have openness to take that, learn new skills, reskill yourself, upskill yourself, you will be always required. So that's, I think, I answered the question. Should we stay in one organization or change organization after some time for growth, or should we go in one organization? Now, this is a $1 million question. Priyanka Rajput. So, Priyanka, see, I will tell you my story. So, I started as a GT, a graduate engineer trainee, after doing my mechanical engineering with Reliance Industries, and I worked them for 2 decades. For 20 years, I worked for one organization, and post that, I changed my organization every 3 years. So I have both the worlds. So I know what happens when you're there in an organization for 20 years and what happens when you change the organization every 3 years. So I have a 33 plus years of experience, and in the last 12 years, I've changed 4 organizations. Every 3 years, I've changed an organization. So uh, what happens is, one is you have to be in an organization which is giving you an opportunity to grow, to learn. If you're learning and if you're growing also, then that is the right organization for you. And that is what companies like Reliance, they provided me. No, but what also happens is that why did I change then after 2 decades? What happens is that the organizations, yourself, they come in a comfort level. They take you for granted, and you yourself feel that I have been in this organization for so long, so I'll keep growing the way it is. But what happens is you are actually you stop growing after some time, because if you are not learning new things, you have to pick yourself out so that your learning doesn't stop, the work doesn't become monotonous, and you yourself know that when is the good time to move out. Just don't move out every year, which is how every younger generation people are doing. Stick to a company. Only leave when you really feel that you're not learning, or you're capped, or you have a toxic environment, or you have a toxic boss, or something of that sort. Then definitely, I would say you should leave. But just don't leave every 6 months or 1 year to grow, or only don't move out for materialistic things, money alone. That's my view on that. Okay, what else? So someone has asked, Suraj has asked, will we get a certificate for this event? So this I leave it to the LQ management side. Okay, how can we? Uh, the most important.
So there was a question from the students, like one question was there, what if we are ready to accept the changes, but surrounding people are against the change? How we can deal with that? Could change be embraced for simplifications?
Oh, I didn't get the question. Can you repeat again?
Yes, sir. What if we are ready to accept the change, but surrounding people are against that change? How we can deal with that change? Should be like embraced for simplifications in that?
See, these are regular scenarios which will keep coming in, wherein you are open for change, but people are stubborn. People are have egos. Your team leader has egos. Your boss has a way of doing things, and he is not wanting to take up better ways of doing things. The only way is to prove that you are doing something to the betterment of the organization or betterment of the assignment which you're working upon. And you will have to also showcase that your way of doing things is improving the overall systems, processes, or organization as a whole. Then even the leader or even the team leader, will accept that yes, this is a better way of doing things, because most of the senior leadership, they have not seen the newer ways of doing things. I can give you one example in a practical scenario. See, in the construction world, many of the things still happen the way it used to happen 25, 30 years back. So people moving in, the labor moving in bricks on their heads, not using mechanical equipment. A lot of things are still happening. Not planning the way people are still planning on paper. People are still planning on Excels. But whereas when a new graduate comes in, he brings in newer mechanization tools. There are newer planning software, MS Project, Primavera. So many things are available in the market. So if that individual is able to showcase to the senior that this particular way of doing things is for the betterment of the team or the organization, then definitely even the leaders will accept it, because finally the leader is also supposed to deliver. They're also working under some KRAs. I hope this is what we're looking at. So you should accept change if it is for the betterment, and you should be able to prove it that this will bring in positive energy, positive way of doing things within the team or the project or assignment. Question I see: what's the most important for improving study or experience in a particular organization? What's the most important for improving study or experience? Okay. Shivani has written one question, so I'm not very clear what she wants, but what I feel is, how can we improve while studying or maybe while working? How can we improve ourselves? Maybe that is what you mean. So I'm trying to answer based on that. So see, continuous improvement is the game of the day. So every day you have to improve. Every day, wherever you were, if you were at say ladder 1, you have to go to ladder 2 to ladder 3 to finally reach ladder 10. So continuous improvement, if you do wherever you are, it will always make you a better person, a better citizen as we go ahead. So basically, you have to, whether in your studies, whether in your work life, whether in your family, whatever you do, you have to improve the situation as it was yesterday. So the tomorrow should be better than yesterday. So if you work on that philosophy, you will always be better than what you were. Yes. Okay, there's one question by Mohit. I see. I think I'll take this as the last question. Right. So Mohit has Sorry, I think did the session break out?
Yes, sir. There was a technical glitch in between, I think.
Okay, no problem. So where was I? So basically, I was answering one question for Mohit that in case there is a discrepancy in terms of targets versus achieved versus actual done. So what I was trying to say is that once you are, these targets are given by the managers themselves. So these are rolled up from month to quarter to annual. If you are giving a target, then basically you're saying that I am accepting this by the end of the year. But definitely, these are plans, and you don't know the practicality. You don't know the changing world. There's so much of uncertainty. So by the end of the year, you may have overshot or you may be under target, but you should have a clear reasoning of what went wrong based on your and the data should speak. That means your assumptions, your everything. If you had not taken up that scenario and if still it came in, you can definitely justify that this went wrong. I had not thought of this scenario. Who could have thought of COVID and all the budgetary plans? Everything went for a toss, revenue, profitability. So people were still not fired. Why? Because you can justify with data that this was not a scenario which was anticipated in this particular month or quarter or year. So such scenarios can be handled within corporate situations. Okay, so I think even a lot of students, I think, are not connected, right?
Yes.
Should we break for some time, 4-5 minutes to?
So we can continue. We can continue, or
because there are about how many people? Okay, there are 264. Okay, yeah, we can continue. So okay, coming to the next section, which is the future of leadership. Okay, so basically, how leaders should behave, because finally, whatever said and done, the bottom of the rung cannot wield power in an organization. So it is the leaders who have to be aware of. It is the leadership, it is the board, it is the CXO level people, it is the managers and senior managers who should be aware of the latest things which are happening and why they should also be made aware is very important. So one is the leaders should be self-aware and they should be inspiring. We're connected, right? Hello.
so screen is not shared.
Oh, that's
Yes, sir.
okay. Sorry. So now you're able to see.
Yes, sir. It's visible now.
Okay. So we were in the third section on the future of leadership, and so what I was trying to say is that the leader should be self-aware. So one is by leading himself or the leader self journey. So he should be aware of his own strengths and own weaknesses, and he should be aware of the changes which are happening. He should be able to lead a team himself. That means he should serve as a catalyst to empower a lot of networks, to ensure transparency, to ensure collaboration, to ensure inclusiveness, all of it. Because finally, the leaders are the ones who drive performance in the organization. And lastly, is the leading at scale. So, how do we ensure that the entire organization is aligned to the core leadership? There are multiple skill sets. They should be role models. They should be inspiring others. They should be developing and people. So they should create a learning organization. There should be very clear setting of expectations at the start of every appraisal, at the start of every quarter or annual or whatever. Fostering team discussions, very important. There should be discussions among multiple teams, cross-functional teams that are working, and they should be communicating very efficiently. There are nowadays this efficient is becoming very important because if you communicate a certain thing in a 1 hour meeting, which can be communicated in a 5 minute of words, then it is much more important to do it efficiently. So that's very important to communicate efficiently rather than communicating and having a full day meetings and no outputs coming out of it. So a leader also needs to be, and that's what we are talking about. What they should promote, and that because all of you are future leaders, so you need to have these qualities as well. Collaboration versus competition. Now, this is very, very important. Organizations in which there is an internal competition, they become, they start getting into the toxic range. So there has to be a collaborative environment within teams. If there is a competition, and most of the organizations, structures are created to create competition because of the hierarchical nature and because of the promotions. As you go up the seniority ladder, the number of people are going lower and lower because of the pyramid structure. So, but you have to create a culture of collaboration within the organization. So, how do you do that? Foster cross-functional projects. That's very, very important. If a HR team just works within itself and doesn't work with the strategy teams or doesn't work with the financial teams, they will not be able to really understand when you need the right people, what type of people, all of it is required. So cross-functional teams are very important. Recognition and rewards are very, very important to create collaboration. There needs an objective. Now, this is very important at the start of every appraisal period or every assignment or every team which is formed. You need to have a transparent metrics and objective which should be clear so that everyone is working towards that. There needs to be an open communication channel. As we say, this starts right from the family itself. So we say the communication should be there within our family members, within our kids and ourselves. So same thing happens across every layer. There should be a communication channel open. So if you are grieved by your reporting manager, you should be able to go to the next layer, to the third layer, up to the level of CXO. You should be able to go to your HR managers. All the communication channels should be open. Otherwise, you will lose a skilled resource from the team. Conflict resolution. This is very important. How to handle conflict within teams. I have a slide on this. We will take it later. And collaborative decision making. Now, this is also important. How do we take a democratic decision rather than a dictatorial decision? Many times things are driven top down, but again, within smaller teams, we can have a collaborative decision making and ensure that the right decisions are only going forward. So this is important. Though it is very difficult also within organizational setup, but still we need to have a culture of collaboration. Attraction, retention, and attrition. So this is very important with leaders to attract the right talent, to retain them, and to reduce attrition. So how do you do that? Is one is you build your organizational capital in a manner that the culture, the vibes of the organization, social media presence, all of it showcases that you are the best employer, people are wanting to come there, and all of that. Another important thing is that there needs to be a motto of dual success. That means never keep only profit or revenue as the target, but also keep talent development as one of the priorities. So if you do both, automatically you will be becoming a top tier company. So you need to prioritize talent development and manage them to deliver top-tier profitability at the same time. This is very important. Competitive advantage automatically comes when you have the right people, when you are able to attract them, and you have a distinctive organizational culture or signature. That is what the leaders should try to create. And how do we create such a talent pool? You need to reconsider the role structure. Are people doing the right roles? Are their job descriptions the correct descriptions which they're supposed to? Are you hiring a manager where engineer or a senior engineer is required? Do you have success profiles to showcase within the organization? Do you use some sort of objective metrics? So all of this is very important. Finding out the right talent, giving them growth opportunities. Talent mapping is a big exercise. Nowadays, there are exercises called development centers and assessment centers, which are there. So you assess the right talent and then we develop them. There's special parts in an organization for such people who are taken on a faster growth. So all of these things are important for a leader to understand and to create teams of the future, organizations of the future. So, this basically figure, if you see down, it is trying to showcase performance-driven companies versus people-focused companies, and how challenges, collaboration, and nurturing these things can lead to dual success. Basically, both people have to be taken along with profitability. So that's very important. Another very important thing for all the young managers and leaders and teams is reskilling and upskilling and efficient organization. So why this is becoming very important, as I said, in the world of AI, the world of technology. Every day things are changing. So you learn something in your school, in your college. By the time you're in your organization, the things have changed. So you need to continuously upskill. You need to reskill on your own also, through the organization also, do some certification program. Ask organization that you need this sort of training. There is a lot of training needs analysis which happens at the time of appraisals. Tell them I am weak in this. Tell your manager anyways knows where you need upskilling. So all of this is very, very important in the current scenario. And without regular, and that is what will lead to your continuous improvement as well, as I said earlier. So your improvement depends upon your continuous upgradation, skilling. So every day you are seeing new certifications, new soft skills, new computer programming languages. So many things are coming up that you need to always do. Otherwise, go and read the book, something called Who Moved My Cheese, and you will know that what happens if you are in a comfort level. And one fine day, you are just out of the business. You just don't know what to do. And so that's very, very important. We have seen companies of the type of Kodak and all, they've just moved out because they didn't adapt to the new world of digital cameras and things like that. So very important, keep always up to the mark. Filling capability chasms or gaps. Now this is in addition to reskilling that you will know, or your organization will let you know that there are certain capability gaps in the role you are handling versus what you know. So this is like your leaders, your team managers should know what are your gaps. You need to be upskilled on that, and there need to be a lot of leadership support as well. To do this, I close these gaps. There is something called vector, which is the first word of all each of these things: vision, leadership. So the leader should have a vision. You should be aware of what your employees are. You should have a culture and the mindset of that sort. You should be adapt to technology. You should be aware of the organizational structure, and you should have a routineness or a system or a process defined. So all of these things are there. You would be actually be able to identify what are institutional level gaps. One of the graphs which I found somewhere is this chart, which showcases the technology capability gaps by role and by percentage. The numbers denote the percentages. It shows that what are the core gaps which are there in the people currently. So digital and analytical role overall is the one which most people lack. People are not aware. That means people are not available of the skill set currently to the type of people who are needed. Software development, a gap of 32%. Customer insights, people who can handle these roles, data science, product management, digital marketing. These are the roles, or these are the gaps of skills which people currently lack. And so you can find out what interests you, and maybe do a small 3 month, 6 month certification, recertification programs on this. Even organizations can set you to these programs. Okay, so again we have come to another break of section, and we'll go to the future of work. Let's have a 5 minute break here, and we can again take up some questions on leadership qualities, and what the future leaders should know and how they should behave and operate. Okay, so let me check the chat once again. Is there any question? Okay, now one question which I found was from Achankya Dikshit again. How do we deal with mental issues of a team? And as a leader, what are the things that can be done? So, as we saw in the slide of mental and psychological issues, so what can be done? So, first is you should be aware of your team members' potential. Where he is going wrong, is he not able to perform, is he not productive? So first is, as a leader of a team of 10, 15, whatever number of people you have, you should be connected to each one of them with respect to their outputs. And then first thing which happens is one-to-one discussions to understand what is going wrong. There can be something happening in his family. There could be some other stresses. There could be some capability issues in himself with respect to training he doesn't understand. So all of this, first we should be aware of the team members' health issues or mental issues, or what is going wrong, and then sort of devise a specific solution for him, which could be on mindfulness, on well-being, on handling anxiety, handling stresses, handling the team itself, handling the group. Maybe he's not able to gel with the group. So all of these things can be done. And another important thing is be transparent to the teams. Keep everyone on the same page. Don't sort of communicate something to someone and something else to someone. So people and the teams don't play politics basically within the team. So that kills the productivity of the team. So this is how you can ensure that the people within the teams don't undertake stresses, and they deliver to the full potential. Okay, so what else? Any other question, Professor, moderator? Anyone? Is there a question? I'm not seeing. Okay. So there is no question. We can go to the next section, which is on basically on the and if you really see, most of these things have actually happened post COVID-19, because there were certain of things which were already happening, reshaping, but it has really accelerated. The world has come 10 years in advance. We have moved a decade in advance because of this. So what all has happened? There's a lot of digitization. That means the organizations are also become digitized. When I say digitized, it means that most of the work processes, most of the documentation has started coming into a soft form. So then most of the things were happening on say paper, they have started becoming online and on soft forms. Remote working is becoming it became for the 1.5 1 year to 1.5 years, most organizations became remote working. So from there we have come to hybrid working, or again brick and mortar working, so full 5 day working. So all of it has happened. Distributed workforces. So because we saw in COVID, people can work out of home. So now even the organizations are ready to take people of multi-national, multicultural environment. Workforces have become distributed. People people can operate from wherever. So this opens up a new challenge of how do we handle teams, and how do we handle work when the teams are not present in front of us. How do we train them? How do we make them learn? All of this started coming into play. Asynchronous and virtual collaboration. So now again, the two different things. So virtual collaboration is currently what we are doing. So we are able to collaborate, we are able to talk, we are able to see, we are able to ask questions. Whereas asynchronous, so these are two different things. And reskilling and upskilling becomes very important in this sort of a environment, changing environment, because of continuous technological applications which are happening. Okay, so uh, I think some of the things we have already covered in this can handle teams from anywhere. And how do we do it? Is one is we embrace a growth mindset. Everyone needs to embrace a mindset of change, a mindset of growth, a mindset to learn and develop continuously. Second is knowledge sharing and learning platforms. We need to have, because we are sitting out of home, so we are not interacting with most of the people in the physical world. So we need to basically share knowledge as much as possible. We need to create platforms through which we can learn. There are organizations which have now created learning management systems, online systems, and all of it. So that is important. Continuous improvement, as I've said, is very, very important. The Japanese word for that is Kaizen. So we need to continuously evolve ourselves. Learning from failures, again, very important. Learn from failures, and better learn from someone else's failures rather than our own failures. Learning metrics. Again, you should have KPIs or your metrics which have a learning thing enabled in for it. So improvement on learning should always be there. There is something called as a balanced scorecard concept, wherein there are the four perspectives of customer, finance, learning is one of them, and systems and processes support operative part. So So learning metrics should always be there in an organization. That means how many hours, how many teams have learned, how many knows this sort of a skill sets. All of those metrics should be available. And last but not the least, there has to be a leadership support. So many organizations, they don't believe on creating or spending money on training or learning or sending people out on seminars or conferences. So there need to be a leadership support for that. That is also very important. This is another requirement. And similarly, with respect to teamwork, the future is again because of the distributed and remote teams. So we have seen how this has become so important. There's a slide on this coming ahead where we talk about it. Cross-functional collaboration, as I said, teams today are not only accounts or only HR or only the silos are breaking, and there are process-based systems and this cross-functional collaboration which happens. Project-based teams, again, the teams are created for a specific assignment, for a specific project. So they of remote working. So you have people from multiple cultures, you have people from multiple countries, multiple states and provinces. So that is need to be developed. Artificial intelligence and human AI collaboration. Now, this is becoming as we go ahead. So this is not yet come, but in the next 10, 15, 20, 25 years, when you become CXOs at that point of time, how do you handle AI and human AI collaboration? That means how do you handle working with robots? How do you handle working with so there is on one side you have a human, and on one side you have a robot doing all the same things which a human can do. So how do you handle such things? You have to think about it. And future-proofing team skills. This is again very, very important. That don't make your teams learn what they already know. Make them learn what they don't know, and make them learn future skills which are going to come in the next 3, 5, 10, 15, 20 years. So that is again very important. Another thing, as I said earlier, that we are living in the data world now. We are living in terabytes and petabytes of data today. So everything is now becoming fact-based, data-driven, objective decision-making. So every time a leader will be asked, though he does most of the decisions out of his gut or out of his experience, but he would also be asked to substantiate it with data. So how do you sort of drive such decisions? So a few pointers there. So one is you need to collect data. You need to create analytics and business intelligence out of it. You need to know what are the core business intelligence tools which can be used in decision making. How can you nowadays a lot of things can be predicted with forecasted with software models with a lot of predictive models. So how do you handle predictions? Again, there is a lot of ethical consideration in data use because of the personality fact, personal data, data privacy, secrecy, and all of it. So you should be really be very sensitive to hiding down the personal data. You should not never get personal because so many things are now happening with respect to sharing of personal data, and a lot of big lawsuits can be filed upon it. So you should be very, very careful in sort of leaking out or using personal data. And building a data-driven culture, again, explaining how organizations cultivate a culture that values data and encourages evidence-based decision making. And embracing data-driven mindset. Just as growth mindset, you need to have a data-driven mindset. Everywhere, everything. One is the gut feeling, one is the abstract. So you need to have that mindset. Coming to something as we have been seeing, managing teams remotely. Some of them, in fact, most of them we have covered. So, but just it's a graphic. So, because now most of the leaders, most of the managers handle this problem of how do we handle virtual collaboration? How do we handle teams which are not in front of us, which are working from nowhere, anywhere, somewhere? So basically, one is you create a positive virtual working environment. That's very important. Some guidelines are always there, shutting off your phones, not going on anywhere, be on the screen, not do another work while on the screen. So many things are now are rules, unwritten rules. Adapting your communication styles, because your body language is not available, like you're not in a physical world. So you have to adapt your communication style. That means formal communication, informal communication, where you can talk in your language versus multicultural. If teams are there, then you have to be on a single language which everyone understands. So all of it is required. Make yourself available. Again, that is very important in virtual setups, that you should be available when your team wants it. Delegate virtually. Again, you can use now a lot of software tools are available to delegate and all. So you can use those tools as well. Be clear and ask for clarification, because of lack of body language, eye-to-eye contact, and all that. You should be very clear in your communication, and if the team member doesn't understand, you should ask for clarification also. Otherwise, there will be expectation mismatch. And then there are ways of celebrating even virtual successes also. So you can every project milestone, every small thing can also be celebrated virtually as well. So these are the ways of life today: work from home, through hybrid, through workplace. Multiple models are there, but all of it should be will stay, and teams should be able to handle leaders
Students, sir will be available. I think there is a technical glitch, so network issue will be there. So sir will be joining shortly.
Hello, sorry, I think the connection broke in between.
Yes, sir.
So you're able to see the screen?
Yes, sir. Your screen is visible.
Okay, I'll just put it on. Okay, sorry. So it got disconnected in between. So we were at, so we finished this virtual collaboration, and so I was talking about why innovation and design thinking is so important in today's teams, and the leaders should know about it. One is, as we were talking about growth mindset. So one of the again characteristic of a growth mindset is adapting to new things and innovating new things. So that is very important for a country like us and even organizations to get into an innovation mode. And anyways, India is known for the Jugaad approach. So, and design thinking is basically about putting everything and anything which we do right from the blueprint stage. We start thinking on the design principles. So, uh, so that is really required in any of the team setup. So, like uh, how we can develop this in teams is we need to create a culture of innovation. It's also nowadays called culture of entrepreneurship. So, entrepreneurship within an organization. So, how do we develop a startup mindset, or how do we develop creativity at the workplace? That is very important. You need to develop risk takers, people who can think out of the box. Very, very important in today's world. There should be a encouragement on idea sharing. That means innovative ideas, brainstorming sessions which are done, they should be encouraged upon to get newer solutions for a particular position. Out of box thinking again is very important. Diverse perspectives should be taken into because people from different backgrounds they can bring diverse experiences and to handle practical situations. Design thinking workshops very important. We can there need to be such innovation research led workshops within organization, and also very important, these things should also be part of the academic setups nowadays. All of these are really the young manager, the young engineers, they should know, the young people, they should know about a lot about ideas, research, innovation, design thinking, entrepreneurship models, all of it. Time for exploration. A lot of dedicated time should be given to people to develop such things within organization setup. So, so these things are still lacking in most of the organization. And fail forward is basically a mindset where failures are actually considered the learning opportunities. So no one comes knowing everything. You have to constantly evolve through experiences, through your knowledge, and mistakes should never be thought as failures. So this is one of the important elements of leadership and design. Now, another very important thing which with most of the problems which happen is if a conflict arises in practical situations, how do we resolve conflicts? There are various models on conflict resolution. It's a subject in itself, but I'll just put a couple of pointers to it. So one is active listening. So active listening is actually be in the present and understand each other's point of views during communication. Clarifying expectations, very, very important, because such conflicts will happen when the expectations are mismatching. So there is always a plan versus activity. You would have thought something that you're doing the best, but your manager would not like it because his expectation is something else. Mediation and facilitation, very important. Again, how do we, if there is a conflict which is not getting resolved, where to go, how, who mediates, who is a party which both people can go to. Generally, these are in organizational setup. These are generally the people managers or the HR managers. That we go to. Seek constructive solutions. Again, this is winning the argument is not always important, but sometimes agree to disagree is also required. Conflict resolution training. Again, there are specific training and learning programs which are there, which equip the team members to basically resolve conflicts, and documenting and reviewing another very important thing. If you are getting into conflicts on a very regular basis, you start documenting why these conflicts are happening on a regular basis, and then maybe think over it, over the underlying issues. And finally, it is in such situations of conflict, there is nothing better than to say, let's talk. So sometimes within a virtual world, conflicts also happen. So better is always connect, always talk one-to-one, also to resolve a conflict between two individuals. Now, lastly, how do there are now, as I said, there are a lot of softwares available in the market today to improve these team productivity tools, and you should take access to these tools and use it in your organization or in your academics or wherever. So there are multiple types of work tools which are available on work scheduling. So you can assign, prioritize tasks, you can share calendars. There are to-do lists, there are Google Keep, all of these things. Communication and collaboration for that. There are chats, document sharing, collaborating tools, project management tools are there where you can collaborative work and progress and manage projects, manage milestones. Data storage again is very important. How do we store data in a central place? How do we know about the customers, about the contacts, about all the stakeholders, where the information is stored? And reporting and analytics, again, there are a lot of software available to report, to appraise the work, to time track, dashboards, all of it is available. Some of the tools I've listed here: Slack, Zoho, Keep, Evernote, Teamwork, Smartsheet. Lots of such tools are available. Some are free, some are paid. Enterprise versions also there. So these team productivity tools can also be used for better management of teams. So I think this was the last slide on how do we really sort of use technologies, manage tools. So if you see, we basically looked upon 4 sections. What is the current world, changing world? How do we develop those skills, the team skills? What is the future of leadership? How the leaders of the future should behave themselves, and what is the future of work? What are the type of things going ahead? What are things coming in the data-driven AI world, and how to be prepared around them? So I think these this brings us to the end of the presentation. And so basically, team is nothing but together everyone achieves more. I end with saying that none of us is as smart as all of us. So we have to work in teams. We have to be always with teams. So it's a very important subject, and team management, people management, leadership management, skills development is all the softer sides, and I think it's very, very important for all the young managers, students, and everyone of all age groups. It is required. So this brings me to the end of the presentation. You can ask any questions. Yeah, there I am not able to see because I think chat broke. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Am I audible to you, Nitin, sir?
Yeah, Professor Jain, very much.
Okay.
Uh,
One question is there from Shivani Rana, that what is most important from improvement? Is it study or experience in a particular organization, sir?
See, I'm a firm believer. So study how much years you do. Study you'll do till class 16, 18. That means you'll do a bachelor's, you'll do a master's, you'll do a PhD, most of that. But experience is like lifelong. So if you're 50 years, your studies, most of the things will stop. Academics things will stop. So it is actually experience which makes a person really a leader or who can handle all the situations. So there's no brainer. Education, academics will bring you up to a certain stage. It will bring you to, if you're a IIT IIM, it will bring you to that stage, or that you are already in a good leadership position. But experience. The simple example is, you see Dhirubhai Ambani, you see all of the entrepreneurs of the earlier era, they could create organizations without any education, but experience made them. Street smartness, continuous improvement. All of these are the ones, and learning from failure, learning from mistakes. So all of this comes from experience. And experience doesn't happen only in organization. It happens in travel. It happens in academic. It happens when you meet people. It happens in work, conferences, seminars, dinners, parties. Wherever you go, there's an experience. So I think experience is what really is important.
One student, Vasant Kumar, is having a question that any productivity tool suggestions you can provide in the case of educational organizations.
I think, Professor, that you have to tell. I may not be aware of. But yeah, I know these the latest tools, like all of this Upgrad or Coursera or Harvard Business Reviews, or Harvard Business Studies. Wharton creates a lot of learning tools. LinkedIn learning. All of these are tools where you can learn, keep learning. There are free courses, there are certification courses. Everything is available today. You just need to know what is the right thing for you to do, where you want to go, make your journey up to where you want to go, and see what you need in between to learn. Because as we say that today, because of the changing dynamics, the world is changing so fast. If you don't learn, you're out. If today we learned what we learned C language, we learned JavaScript. Today nobody talks about it. Today everybody talks about Python, R. So we have to learn new things. So lot of only thing which I can say is keep learning, keep walking,
Yes.
keep learning, and there is no dearth of information available there. And if you have a will, you will find information.
Very true, Nitin sir. And frankly speaking, these our students, LPU online students, they are working on the same lines. And I'm happy to share with you that 50 to 60% of our students are working professionals. And on the same, we are having students of more than 25 nationalities who are studying with LPU online, sir.
Oh, so wonderful. So I have got connected to the right university, a university of the future.
So we are having students of North America, Europe, Africa, Australia, all continents, I can say.
So are some of the students right now also part of this?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Wonderful.
They are part of it. And on the same, if you see, as I have told you, more than 50% of students are working professionals who are upgrading their skills. Maybe anybody would have done BTech or the graduation, and right now they are doing a good job. But now they are upgrading themselves. Few examples I would like to quote here, sir. One general manager of Samsung India Limited. He is doing MBA with us. Due to the technical role he has acquired, so he is in a very good position. There is no need. But still, for upgrading himself, for managing the team in a better way, he's doing it.
Yeah.
Am I audible, sir?
Yeah.
Okay. So with this now, sir, if you allow, we want to end this session. This has been a very, very interesting, on the same, giving new insights into the corporate world, what is being required in the corporate world, that you have told us, sir.
Yeah, I wanted to be more practical because academics तो आप लोग cover कर ही लेते हैं, so industry exposure
exactly.
is really required, and I thought कि how do I make it really contemporary? That was and that's why I chose the topic also that way कि it should be more towards future themes.
No doubt about it, sir.
Yeah.
On a formal note, sir, I would like to thank you here for sparing your valuable time for us, for our students, and we will be glad to, I would say, be associated with you. It's our privilege to be associated with you, sir. And in the future endeavors also, we will be looking to your support in our academic matters. What your experience, rich experience you brought in here, that will be of a great value to our students as well as to the academics teams also, sir.
Sure,
Thank you.
I will definitely. Thank you so much, and
Thanks a
we'll
lot,
definitely
sir.
want to visit also your beautiful campus.
Sir,
once.
it will be, as you were saying that your nephew has taken the admission. So
Yeah.
it will be, I would say, a good thing for us that if you will visit the university, we will be happy to host you here, sir.
Sure,
In that case,
I,
we can have a session of like this on today's from our studio for our students.
perfect. I'll definitely plan it once.
Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot. And on this occasion, I would like to thank my seniors, my colleagues for making this happen. And the most important thanks to my dear students who has come in large number to attend this knowledgeable session. Thank you. Thanks a lot to all of you. Thank you, sir. I will come back to you, sir. Thank you.